Liber 65 Liber Cordis Cincti Serpente sub Figura Adonai. My God, let thy secret fang pierce to the marrow of the little secret bone that I have kept against the day of vengeance of Hur-Ra. Let Keph-Ra sound his sharded drone. Let the jackals of day and night howl in the wilderness of time. Let the towers of the universe totter, and the guardians hasten away. For my Lord hath revealed himself as a mighty serpent, and my heart is the blood of his body. I am like a lovesick courtesan of Corinth. I have toyed with kings and captains and made them my slaves. Today I am the slave of the little asp of death, and who shall loosen our love? Weary, weary, saith the scribe, who shall lead me to the sight of the rapture of my master. The body is weary, and the soul is sore weary, and sleep weighs down their eyelids, yet ever abides the sure consciousness of ecstasy, unknown yet known in that it's being certain. O Lord, be my helper and bring me to the bliss of the beloved. I came to the house of the beloved, and the wine was like fire that flieth with green wings through the world of waters. I felt the red lips of nature and the black lips of perfection. Like sisters, they fondled me, their little brother. They decked me out as a bride. They mounted me for thy bridal chamber. They fled away at thy coming. I was alone before thee. I trembled at thy coming, O my God, for thy messenger was more terrible than the Death Star. On the threshold stood the fulminant figure of evil, the horror of emptiness, with his ghastly eyes like poisonous wells. He stood, and the chamber was corrupt. The air stank. He was an old and gnarled fish, more hideous than the shells of Abaddon. He enveloped me with his demon tentacles. Yea, the 8 fears took hold upon me. I was anointed with the right sweet oil of the Magister. I slipped from the embrace as a stone from the sling of a boy of the woodlands. I was smooth and hard as ivory. The horror got no hold. Then, at the noise of the wind of thy coming, he was dissolved away, and the abyss of the great void was unfolded before me. Across the waveless sea of eternity, thou didst ride with thy captains and thy hosts, with thy chariots and horsemen and spearmen didst thou travel through the blue. Before I saw thee, thou wast already with me. I was smitten through by thy marvelous spear. I was stricken as a bird by the bolt of the thunderer. I was perceived as the thief by the Lord of the gardens. O my Lord, let us sail upon the sea of blood. There is a deep taint beneath the ineffable bliss. It is a taint of generation. Yea, though the flower wave bright in the sunshine, the root is deep in the darkness of earth. Praise to thee, O beautiful dark earth. Thou art the mother of a million myriads of flowers. Also I beheld my God, and the countenance of him was 1,000-fold brighter than the lightning. Yea, in his heart I beheld the slow and dark one, the ancient one, the devourer of his children. In the height and the abyss. O my beautiful, there is no thing. Verily, there is no thing at all, and that is not altogether and perfectly fashioned for thy delight. Light cleaveth unto light, and filth to filth. With pride one contemneth another, but not thou, who art all and beyond it, who art absolved from the division of the shadows. With pride one contemneth another, but not thou, who art all and beyond, who art absolved from the division of the shadows. O day of eternity, let thy wave break in foamless glory of sapphire upon the laborious coral of our making. We have made us a ring of glistening white sand, strewn wisely in the midst of the delightful ocean. Let the palms of brilliance flower upon our island. We shall eat of their fruit and be glad. But for me, the lustral water, the great ebullition, the dissolving of the soul in that resounding abyss, I have a little son, like a wanton goat. My daughter is like an unfledged eaglet. They shall get them fins, that they may swim. And that they may swim, O my beloved, swim far into the warm honey of thy being, O blessed one, O boy of beatitude. This heart of mine is girt about with the serpent that devoureth his own coils. When shall there be an end, O my darling? O when shall the universe and the Lord thereof be utterly swallowed up? Nay, who shall devour the infinite? Who shall undo the wrong of the beginning? Thou criest like a white cat upon the roof of the universe. There is none to answer thee. Thou art like a lonely pillar in the midst of the sea. There is none to behold thee, O thou who beholdest all. Thou dost faint, thou dost fail. Thou scribe, cried the desolate voice, but I have filled thee with a wine whose Savior thou knowest not. It shall avail to make drunken the people of the old gray sphere that rolls in the infinite far off. They shall lap the wine as dogs, that lap the blood of a beautiful courtesan, pierced through by the spear of a swift rider through the city. I, too, am the soul of the desert. Thou shalt seek me yet again in the wilderness of sand. At thy right hand, a great lord and a comely. At thy left hand, a woman clad in gossamer and gold, and having the stars in her hair. Ye shall journey far into a land of pestilence and evil. Ye shall encamp in the river of a foolish city forgotten. There shall ye meet with me. There will I make mine habitation. As for bridal, will I come bedecked and anointed. There shall the consumption be accomplished. O my darling, I also wait for the brilliance of the hour ineffable, when the universe shall be like a girdle for the midst of the ray of our love, extending beyond the permitted end of the endless one. Then, O my heart, will I, the serpent, eat thee wholly up. Yea, I will eat thee wholly up. And the Lord Adonai, that dalliest with the Magister in the treasure house of pearls, let me listen to the echo of your kisses. It is not the starry heaven shaken as a leaf at the tremulous rapture of your love. Am I not the flying spark of light whirled away by the great wind of your perfection? Yea, cried the Holy One, and from thy spark will I, the Lord, kindle a great light. Will I, the Lord, kindle a great light? I will burn through the great city in the old and desolate land. I will cleanse it from its great impurity. And thou, O prophet, shalt see these things, and thou shalt heed them not. Now is the pillar established in the void, and Asi fulfilled of Asar. Now is Hur let down into the animal soul of things like a fiery star that falleth upon the darkness of the earth. Through the midnight thou art dropped, O my child, my conqueror, my sword captain, O her, and they shall find thee as a black gnarled, glittering stone, and they shall worship thee. My prophet shall prophesy concerning thee. Around thee the maidens shall dance, the bright babes shall be born unto them. Thou shalt inspire the proud ones with infinite pride, and the humble ones with an ecstasy of abasement. All this shall transcend the known and the unknown, with somewhat that hath no name, for it is as the abyss of the arcanum that is opened in the secret place of silence. Thou hast come hither. Thou hast come hither, O my prophet, through grave paths. Thou hast eaten of the dung of the abominable ones. Thou hast prostrated thyself before the goat and the crocodile. The evil men have made thee a plaything. Thou hast wandered as a painted harlot, ravishing with sweet scent and Chinese coloring in the streets. Thou hast darkened thine eye pits with kohl. Thou hast tinted thy lips with vermilion. Thou hast plastered thy cheeks with ivory enamels. Thou hast played the wanton in every gate and by way of the great city. The men of the city have lusted after thee to abuse thee and to beat thee. They have mouthed the golden spangles of fine dust, whereat thou didst bedeck thine hair. They have scourged the painted flesh of thee with their whips. Thou hast suffered unspeakable things, but I have burnt within thee as a pure flame without oil. In the midnight I was brighter than the moon. In the daytime I exceeded utterly the sun. In the byways of thy being I inflamed and dispelled the illusion. Therefore thou art wholly pure before me. Therefore thou art my virgin unto eternity. Therefore I love thee with surpassing love. Therefore they that despise thee shall adore thee. Thou shalt be lovely and pitiful towards them. Thou shalt heal them of the unutterable evil. They shall change in their destruction, even as two stars that crush together in the abyss and blaze up in an infinite burning. All this while did Adonai pierce my being with his sword that hath 4 blades, the blade of the thunderbolt, the blade of the pylon, the blade of the pylon, the blade of the serpent, the blade of the phallus. Also he taught me the holy, unutterable word, Ararita, so that I melted the 6-fold gold into a single invisible point, whereof naught may be spoken. For the magistry of this opus is a secret magistry, and the sign of the master thereof is a certain ring of lapis lazuli with the name of my master, who am I, and the I in the midst thereof. Also he spake and said, this is a secret sign, and thou shalt not disclose it unto the profane, nor to the neophyte, nor unto the zealoter, nor to the practicus, nor unto the philosophus, nor unto the lesser adept, nor unto the greater adept, but unto the exempt adept thou shalt disclose thyself, if thou have need of him for the lesser operations of thine art. Accept the worship of the foolish people, whom thou hatest. The fire is not defiled by the altars of Gebers, nor is the moon contaminated by the incense of them that adore the Queen of Night. Thou shalt dwell among the people as a precious diamond, among cloudy diamonds and crystals and pieces of glass. Only the eye of the just merchant shall behold thee, and plunging in his hand shall single thee and glorify thee before men. But thou shalt heed none of this. Thou shalt be ever as the hart, and I the serpent, will coil close about thee. My coil shall never relax throughout the aeons, neither change, nor sorrow, nor unsubstantiality, shall have thee, for thou art passed beyond all these, even as the diamond shall glow red for the rose, and green for the rose leaf, so shall thou abide apart from the impressions. I am thou, and the pillar is established in the void. Also, thou art beyond the stabilities of being, and of consciousness, and of bliss. For I am thou, and the pillar established in the void. Also, thou shalt discourse of these things unto men that writeth them, and he shall partake of them as a sacrament. For I, who am thou, am he, and the pillar is established in the void. From the crown to the abyss, so goeth it single and erect. Also the limitless sphere shall glow with the brilliance thereof. Thou shalt rejoice in the pools of adorable water. Thou shalt bedeck thy damsels with pearls of fecundity, with pearls of fecundity. Thou shalt light flame like licking tongues of liquor of the gods between the pools. Also thou shalt convert all the sweeping air into the winds of pale water. Thou shalt transmute the earth. Thou shalt transmute the earth into a blue abyss of water. Ruddy are the gleams of ruby and gold that sparkled therein. One drop shall intoxicate the Lord of the gods, my servant. Also Adonai spake unto thee, saying, O my little one, my tender one, my little enamorous one, my gazelle, my beautiful, my boy, let us fill up the pillar of the infinite with an infinite kiss, so that the stable was shaken and the unstable became still. They that beheld it cried with the formidable affright, the end of things is come upon us. And it was even so. Also, I was in the spirit vision and beheld a parasital pomp of atheists, coupled by two and by two in the supernal ecstasy of the stars. They did laugh and rejoice, exceedingly being clad in purple robes and drunken with purple wine, and drunken with purple wine, and their whole soul was one purple flower flame of holiness. They beheld not God. They beheld not the image of God. Therefore were they arisen to the palace of the splendor ineffable. A sharp sword smote out before them, and the worm, hope, writhed in its death agony under their feet, even as their rapture shore asunder the visible hope. So also the fear invisible fled away and was no more. O ye that are beyond Ahura and Ahriman, blessed are ye unto the ages. They shaped doubt as a sickle and reaped the flowers of faith for their garlands. They shaped ecstasy as a spear and pierced the ancient dragon that sat upon the stagnant water. Then the fresh springs were loosened, and the folk athirst might be at ease. And again I was caught up into the presence of my Lord Adonai, and the knowledge and conversation of the Holy One, the angel that guardeth me. O holy exalted one, O self beyond self, O self-luminous image of the unimaginable not, O my darling, my beautiful, come thou forth and follow me. Adonai, divine Adonai, let Adonai initiate refulgent dalliance. Thus I concealed the name of her name that inspireth my rapture, the scent of whose body bewildereth the soul, the light of whose soul abaseth this body into the beasts. I have sucked out the blood with my lips. I have drained her beauty of its sustenance. I have abased her before me. I have mastered her. I have possessed her, and her life is within me. In her blood I inscribe the secret riddles of the Sphinx of the gods, and none shall understand, save only the pure and voluptuous, obscene, the androgyne, and the gynander, that have passed beyond the bars of the prison, that the old slime of Chem set up in the gates of Amente. Oh, my adorable, my delicious one, all night will I pour out the libation on thine altars. All night will I burn the sacrifice of blood. All night will I swing the thurible of my delight before thee, and the fervor of the horizons shall intoxicate thy nostrils. O thou who camest from the land of the elephant, girt about with the tiger's pell, and garland with the lotus of the spirit, do thou inebriate my life with thy madness, that she leapt at my passing. Bid thy maidens who follow thee bestrew us on a bed of flowers, immortal, that we may take our pleasure thereupon. Bid thy satyrs heap thorns among the flowers, that we may take our pain thereupon. Let the pleasures and pain be mingled in one supreme offering unto the Lord Adonai. Also, I heard the voice of Adonai, the Lord, the desirable one, concerning that which is beyond. Let not the dwellers in the by and the temples thereof prate ever, the pillars of Hercules, and the ocean of the west. Is not the Nile a beautiful water? Let not the priest of Isis uncover the nakedness of Nuit, for every step is a death and a birth. The priest of Isis lifted the veil of Isis, and was slain by the kisses of her mouth. Then was he the priest of Nuit, and drank of the milk of the stars. Let not the failure of the pain turn aside the worshippers. The foundations of the pyramid were hewn in the living rock ere sunset. Did the king weep at dawn? The crown of the pyramid was yet unquarried in the distant land. There was also a hummingbird, and spake unto the horned Cerastes, and prayed him for poison. And the great snake of Chem, the holy one, the royal Urias serpent, answered him and said, I sailed over the sky of Nu in the car called Millions of Years, and I saw not any creature upon Seb that was equal to me. The venom of my fang is the inheritance of my father, and of my father's father, and how shall I give it unto thee? Live thou and thy children as I and my fathers have lived, even unto 100 millions of generations, and it may be that the mercy of the mighty ones may bestow upon thy children a drop of the poison of eld. Then the hummingbird was afflicted in his spirit, and he flew unto the flowers. And it was as if naught had been spoken between them. Yet in a little while a serpent struck him that he died. But an ibis that meditated upon the bank of the Nile. The beautiful god listened and heard. And as he laid aside his ibis ways, and became as a serpent, saying, peradventure, in 100 millions of years, of generations of my children, they shall attain to a drop of the poison of the tang of the exalted one. And behold, ere the moon waxed thrice, he became an Aras serpent, and the poison of the fang was established in him, and his seed even forever and forever. O thou serpent, Apep, my Lord Adonai, it is a speck of minutest time, this traveling through eternity, and in thy sight the landmarks are fair white marble, untouched by the tool of the graver. Wherefore thou art mine, even now and for everlasting. Amen. Moreover, I heard the voice of Adonai, sealeth the book of the heart and the serpent. In the number 5 and 60, seal thou the holy book, as fine gold that is beaten into a diadem for the fair queen of Pharaoh, as great stones that are cemented together into the pyramid of the ceremony of the death of a Sar. So do thou bind together the words and the deeds, so that in all is one thought of me, thy delight, Adonai. I answered and said, it is done, even according unto thy word. And it was done. And they that read the book and debated thereon passed into the desolate land of barren words. And they that sealed up the book into their blood were the chosen of Adonai. And the thought of Adonai was a word and a deed, and they abode in the land that the far-off travelers call not. O land beyond honey and spice, and all perfection, I will dwell therein with my Lord forever. And the Lord Adonai delighteth in me, and I bear the cup of his gladness unto the weary ones of the old grey land. They that drink thereof are smitten of disease, the abomination hath hold upon them, and their torment is like the thick black smoke of the evil abode. But the chosen ones drank thereof, and became even as my Lord, my beautiful, desirable one. There is no wine like unto his wine. They are gathered together into the glowing heart, as Ra that gathereth his clouds about him at eventide, into a molten sea of joy, and the snake that is the crown of Ra bindeth them about with the golden girdle of the death kisses. So also is the end of the book, and Lord Adonai is about it on all sides like a thunderbolt, and a pylon, and a snake, and a phallus, and in the midst thereof he is like the woman that jetteth out the milk of the stars from her paps, yea, the milk of the stars from her paps. And in a literal sense, we can say that some things are being represented. Some things are being presented as perhaps maybe we shouldn't do them or partake them in a literal sense. But what if most spiritual texts are not from revelations at all, not inspirations in the direct sense, ordained and sanctioned by spiritual entities, but representations by the priest, craft, that if you look beyond them, you find a truth. And in closing, I would like to ask, among habits to listen, habits to limit, should you limit giving advice? Should you limit interrupting? Should you limit finishing sentences? Should you limit making judgments? Should you limit filtering for clues? Should you limit comparing? Should you limit fixing things? Should you limit commiserating? Should you limit teasing? Should you limit making irrelevant asking irrelevant questions? Should you limit rehearsing? Should you limit daydreaming? Should you limit filling the silence? Should you limit breaking confidentiality? Should you limit minimizing? Should you limit analyzing? Should you limit being right? And as far as listening skills, should you decide to listen? Should you listen with your body? Should you make soft eye contact? Should you listen in the present? Should you stay focused? Should you reflect back? Should you name feelings? Ask the right questions? Allowing for silence? Should you help anger vent? Should you allow another's wisdom? Should you grow through listening? Should you limit your old habits? So, how can you represent your life and the totality of existence as has been done in this text that we have gone over today?